Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I'm your host Hajra Satti and joining me is my wonderful co-host who happens to be Fahim Bangesh. Assalamu alaikum Fahim. How are you doing today?
Walaikum assalam. Doing very well. Thank you very much. And in our sector, we received a bit of rain yesterday. And I thought that the winters are coming. As in Game of Thrones, they say winters are coming. But we're really desperately waiting for the winters to come. We can't deal with the sweating and the perspiration anymore. And I'm really looking forward to the winters. But anyway, Hajra, I think you look pretty exhausted today. Are you?
No, not at all. I don't know, but I do feel a lot of time people misinterpret my non-verbal and verbal communication. And generally, I'm a sort of a person that I take a lot of pain in executing a task. But that's it. This is how my nature is. But yesterday, Fahim, we were talking about films, dramas, cultures. And all of these pop art things or pop culture in particular and how it influences public opinion. And we talked about that. It can also manufacture the consent, especially when it comes to the target audience when they're particularly targeting. But now let's talk about some of the joint collaboration which is taking between Pakistan and Turkey. And there is a joint drama series being produced by the name of Salahuddin Ayyubi. And this is a joint production between Pakistan and Turkey, and I'm very excited for this series because we have always seen the representation of Salahuddin Ayyubi and Richard the Lionheart in the Western films, in the Western narratives, and that is obviously very biased in the favor of a Western narrative. But now, since we are making our own productions, own movies, and we have lots of heroes, and we need their representation on TV.
And also, Hajra, this is someone that we've been hearing the name since our childhoods. And I think a visual representation would actually, put the stamp on the minds of people, the young people, especially the young lot who've heard this name in their curriculum from their elders. And I think this is going to do a whole, basically, it's going to serve its purpose. That's what I'm trying to say. Because like Hajra said, the West often gives a biased opinion, they give a biased view. But right now, we're going to look at it from the lens of a Muslim.
So let's go and watch the trailer and let's discuss further what does this series entail and how we look at the character or the celebrity or the figure of Salahuddin Ayyubi, which is a very huge character. He epitomizes the cultural tolerance, he epitomizes his rule, his era, epitomizes the tolerance for diversity, especially at a time when the Europe was drowned deep into the medieval times, when they were so much bigoted, when they were not very progressive minded, and we've seen how there were tales of bravery, how there were tales of I would say hospitality that were recorded by Salahuddin Ayyubi. And there's this one famous tale when the armies of Salahuddin Ayyubi were facing the army of Richard the Lionheart from the west, and he stopped the war for some time, and he asked the soldiers on the both sides that they can have some break and drink the water and tend to the wounded person, and then we are going to do that. And there was the one instance where a baby of the Crusaders army was left in the battlefield, and that woman came crying in front of the Salahuddin, and she said that I have known your tales of bravery and I have known your tales of hospitality, you know, such a great man, but can I have my baby back? And he became very angry that why her baby was taken away from her in the first place, and then he returned back the baby, and this is how he won the hearts and the minds of not just his own people but of his enemies. And this is the greatness of the character, this is the strength of one's personality, and this is how you record yourself in the history in the golden words. And we certainly need to hear the inspiration stories of such sort of characters, because these are our own characters, this is our own history, and it's time that we take back and reclaim back the narrative which has been dominated by the West.
Absolutely, Hajra, you are quite right. We must embrace it, we must own it. And when we talk about culture, this is one of the cultural collaborations. And not to forget, the National Folk Festival Lok Mela will be held on Friday and in Islamabad, and the PTDC representative, he said that this will be the biggest folk festival in the country, which is being organized by the National Heritage and Culture Division at Lok Virsa. And of course, this is one of the platforms where a lot of tourists will be visiting. And this is one of the platforms where Pakistan will get to showcase its heritage, its traditions, its culture, basically. And the theme of this year's festival, not to forget, is peace and harmony through cultural diversity.
लोक विरसा मेला लोक विरसा लोक विरसा मेला.
And that was some of the highlights of the Lok Virsa, which will be held on Friday in Islamabad. And now we move on to our first segment of the program, and that would be anxiety and depression in the youth and the solutions, how to get out of it, how to cure the youth out of the anxiety and depression that they are in this era. For our guest for this segment, we have Ms. Nausheen Piracha with us. She's the CEO, Memar Foundation, and she's also an educationist. Nausheen, welcome to PTV World and World This Morning.
Thank you so much.
Right, and it's a pleasure, Nausheen, having you again on our set, on our studio. So Nausheen, let's kickstart a conversation and let's develop it. And I always like to link this topic with the social media, because there's a new term that has graced the English dictionary, which is doom scrolling. And this is the phenomena where people like to again and again scroll the things that is giving depression, or they are very dark and they have sort of an addiction that paints a very doomy and gloomy scenario, right? So how much do you think social media has perpetuated the anxiety and depression in the young people around the world?
Thank you so much for having me here. First of all, Sahar, I would like to add that the main focus are these devices, that all the time the flow of information is coming from everywhere, and the children, they are before teenage, they are more wiser, or you can say they have enough of information,
right,
that before their teenage they are saying that now teenage is coming, now I'll be stressful, now I'll be anxietyful. So they're continuously talking to themselves. So what are they doing? They are giving themselves affirmations,
right,
that yes, we are stressed. But yes, these devices and social media are affecting badly. The very main thing, which is, if we are looking the growth of another person or another friend, yeah, she wore that, she wore this,
peer pressure, yes,
yeah, the peer pressure, you can say the jealousy, envy, you can say these, all the things, these are affecting our youth and our young generation, that is Gen Z, you can talk about, because they are just receiving the information from everywhere.
Also, Nausheen, if we talk about just the fact that you mentioned the comparisons that people make with their peers and with their friends, also this is like a negative reinforcement which is continuously being done. Also, they tend to find themselves to be A, non-attractive, B, not perfect, C, they find apps which would make them look perfect by taking perfect pictures, because now the concept of perfect pictures is there. You can shape up your nose, your cheeks, you know, whatever you want.
You can curate a very artificial identity on social media. Yes,
so do you think this is causing an identity crisis in the youth, or a body dysmorphia fear in the youth?
Yeah, I was just studying about last week, there are 31.9% teens are in anxiety and stress. There were 35% of girls, they are in anxiety. Why is this? Because we should look perfect all the time. We are after, fake word. We are running after fake word, that we have to look perfect. We have to be perfect. See, if you're talking to some teenagers, they see, look at them. They have this, that, and they are looking like this. So definitely it is creating, stress in them, in their minds. And which I have studied last week also, it was about the 25 second, not more than 25 seconds. We cannot, wait for the even website if it is, we are browsing something, and if it is browsing more than 25 seconds, we will just leave it and move on. Right. This is our focus time. Right. So can you imagine that if a child has even not 30 seconds to focus something, or don't be impatient, I think they are losing their selves, what I highly agreed, and it is affecting their education, their studies, and lots of other things. Sleep deprived,
And I think I would again like to reiterate, because I keep saying that again and again in my show, is that we are living in an age where there is a wealth of information but poverty of attention, and social media very aptly characterizes or manifests this particular phenomena. But Nausheen, when we talk about social media, when we talk about young people, obviously young minds are very easy to influence. They can be molded and shaped very easily, and obviously social media is such an important fabric of our society. We cannot disentangle ourselves, right? It is going to remain there. But how do you think we need to deal with this entire phenomena where the young people are I mean, very aggressively assuming a very artificial identity which they are not, and how to make them feel comfortable in their own skin? As an educationist, what sort of experience do you have?
As if I'm talking to a kid or school children or anywhere in my surrounding, if I'm coaching someone or training someone, what I have noticed that people, they have sleep deprived, they have, you know, all the time stress and influenced by others as well. But the social media is that much important that we have to be seen. It is very important, otherwise you cannot get anything, because this is the only tool nowadays that people are using it, and we can promote or brand ourselves. On the other hand,
because nowadays it's like out of sight, out of mind, so you have to be there.
Yeah, it is a kind of, yes. But what I suggest to teenagers and youngsters, I talk about that you have to detox yourself in for 1 hour or 2 hours. You just leave your devices, keep them aside, talk to your parents, talk to your family. And I think the best time is the dinner time or lunch time. You're sitting together, you're eating together, you're talking together. I think this is the best time to detox yourself. And one thing, you should not be influenced by others. This is the main thing which is affecting our youth badly. And the fake thing is that, of course, the filters and whatever we are facing, whatever we are, there is nothing natural or pure, or we cannot get from the devices. This was the one thing. And another thing which I learned, or you can say studied, that was type 1 diabetes. It is called, the anxiety in youth is a type 1 diabetes.
Because stress increases the sugar level, you're right, you're absolutely right. And also connecting that with another fact, that parents have always been, in our part of the world especially, they make comparisons with other children in the family, right?
This we have faced a lot, but in our era, we were not, we did not have these devices and everything.
It was a simpler life.
Yeah, it was a simpler life. We went outside, we played outside.
So they have like a double pressure now. From the parents, from the peers, from the devices, so they're sort of crushed.
At that time for him, when we were compared with anyone, at that time we had the same issues. We were also facing these things that, mama, do not compare me with anyone else or something like that. We were facing the same. But nowadays the child is not that much able. They can talk to us, they can share their problem with us. But the thing is that there is lots of flow of information they are receiving from everywhere. As I've told you, I have 14-year-old daughter, and she came to me one day. She was 13. Mama, now I'm in teens, so I would have some stress and anxiety. So you should understand. I was like, before time you are telling me.
That is so cool. That is so cute and cool. Yeah.
And you know, there being a girl, there will be lots of changes in her, you know, attitude, body, and mental, physical health, and everywhere. So I said, you have decided yourself earlier that yes, I'm going to face this, and Mama, you have to understand me. So I think these are the things, just because of that, the devices.
So Nausheen,
in a day or in a week, keep a day, you have just switched off your mobiles, keep them aside or lock them in a cupboard, and just detox yourself.
So one thing that comes to mind, Nausheen, so one child in a family or two children, they're facing a lot of anxiety, they're facing depression, they're facing a lot of stress. What is basically the cure or the treatment that perhaps if you don't want to go to a psychologist and have therapy sessions, how can parents help their children?
Okay. The thing is that why the children are facing these things, that parents, they both are professional, they do not have time, they are just running and doing everything. Okay, just finish your food, pack your bag, go to school, come back, okay. Then the tutor will come, they will teach them, then the Kari or Karya will come, they will teach them Quranic education and everything, but where are the parents? Where are they? So that's why I said that the food time is the best time to talk to your children, to share their information, to talk to how was your day, how did you spend a whole day. Then you should talk, converse with them.
And usually we see there is a lack of, Hajra, you would agree, in our generation, many of people of our age group, they have children who are older, right? But they don't have that tolerance and patience to deal with the teenagers.
And this brings me to an important point, that the creation of an emotional safe space, which children badly need, because whenever you go to your parents, you do have the fear of getting judged, or you maybe find that they can't relate with you in a way that you want them to relate to it, right? So Nausheen, when we talk about regulating our emotions, because obviously emotions are very powerful, and a lot of people demonize emotions a lot because they feel that they are minefield, and if you step into it, they will just get a blast on it. But I do feel that they are your coach, because they are guiding you. That it's a way of your body to telling you, what is it feeling, right? So how do you think the kids can regulate their emotions, and how can their parents help in regulating those emotions which they badly need? Because obviously venting out is an important thing when it comes to having a safe and a sane mental health.
Most of the time now, they used to find out the place in a social media to talk to someone or to make friends, or either they do not want to share. Have you seen that in a one house there are 4 different rooms, and 4 different people are sitting in 4 different rooms and using their devices? So this is the main factor. At that time, what I feel, keep all the devices. I have seen one of the even ad regarding this. Keep the devices in one of the basket and keep in front of you on the table, and talk to your kid and figure it out, what is he going through. Emotional intelligence is very important for us and for the children as well, because we are not emotional intelligent. That's why it is happening again and again to us. Even we are not able to deal our children.
Right.
So I think this is important. We have to learn it, and we have to work on the children as well. Secondly, please give 1 hour. Give your child and ask them 1 hour, just sit without anything doing, and you should not do anything, just sit quietly. That is called meditation. You just sit quietly, no thoughts, nothing is in your mind, just keep calm and sit down.
But you alluded to a very important fact, and
I was also going to come to that,
on that, which is the thoughts. And thoughts are very powerful, and whenever we talk about depression or anxiety, thoughts, they are very deeply interconnected with thoughts, and they keep repeating in your head.
And we are always in the chain of thoughts.
Yes, and it's very difficult to break that vicious cycle of very negative thought that are constantly coming into your mind. How to break that, circle or cycle, because obviously when you do that, that is where you can fight that depression, but doing so requires a lot of willpower. So
it is not that much difficult.
It's very difficult.
But what I do, I used to take the devices and I ask them to sit down. Just don't think anything, just sit down. Either you want to sit on the floor or a sofa or a bed, it's up to you. But you have to sit idle. You will not think anything. I have started in 2021, and I have seen a vital change in my personality. I have controlled my anger. I have cured my diabetes. I have cured my other, little bit of physical problems and issues. So I think meditation works magically. And this I used to implement on my school children as well. I asked them to sit down quietly, just sit down, just do nothing. Most of the people, they used to relate it religiously, but I think it is just an exercise to sit down calmly and just don't think about it. At that time, you can increase your focus, you can control your emotions, you can control your anger, and you would have the solution of your problems as well. At that time, you will figure it out
So
when you will calmly sit.
So, for example, you just mentioned 1 hour. I think
1 hour
for
is
a
too much, but I know.
for a layman, even sitting for 5 minutes without any thoughts would be quite a cumbersome and difficult task. So how do you suggest it should be done so that we can instill this habit not just in ourselves, but also in our children and in our family members, because everyone is dealing with anxiety and stress these days?
Yeah. So I think layman, as you told me, we should start with 1 minute
All right.
or 30 seconds.
Right.
I was started with 17 seconds, and gradually I improved. Now I can do it till 45 minutes, yeah, for
Right.
almost 1 hour. So I think so. What I do with my girls, that I ask them to sit down just for 5 minutes, just sit with me quietly, nothing else, and I just take them and make them sit with me on the floor. When you will connect to your own self, and when you will connect to the nature, when you will sit on the floor, it means that you are connecting to the nature. At that time, it will heals you.
And I think the same meditation, I think namaz also offers that same meditation, because you're also connecting with God, you're also connecting with the nature, and 5 times a day prayer is the best communication, a silent communication between a servant and between a Lord. And if you develop that habit as a Muslim, I would say, so I think that's the best form of the meditation. And I'm not denying the set benefits of the yoga and meditation, and obviously they do have their set benefits, but I just generally think that the way that our lives are curated, there's so much materialism, Fahim, that has crept into it, and that is why we're seeing the materialistically we're all satisfied, we are living a very luxurious life, but again, spiritually we are very deprived. Spiritually we are the generation, our soul needs a lot of nourishment, right? So Nausheen, in this regard, what would you suggest? Because we are a generation that have a very fake sort of a smile.
We are a sad generation, basically.
That's true.
I think so. Namaz itself a kind of practice which is forcing us to focus. Like when we pray, at that time we have lots of thoughts. Again, the thoughts are coming, and again and distracted us.
Yes.
And at that time, what the people used to say, that whenever we want to figure it out, that we want to think something and we just forget it, we just say prayer, and at that time the thought comes to our mind.
That's true.
So I think so. Namaz is one of the things that we have to, we can practice our focus with namaz as well. But the meditation is to know your own self, to connect to your own self. What is your own self? What do you really want?
Right.
Why
Have you
you are
figured that
angry
out?
all? Sorry?
Have you figured that out?
Yeah.
Can you explain it to us?
Yeah. When I have started, I was totally scattered, and at that time I was going through it with the bad times. You can
Right.
say that it was a COVID-19 and it affected my business badly. So
Yes.
at that time I started meditation. It was just passed through one of the video, and just I've watched it, and I said, "Kaun se paise lagte hain, let's start." And I have started, and after a month, I decided that I will not miss it any day in my life, in any way. Wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I have to do meditation. I have figured it out. I have developed patience in me. I have controlled my anger. I have cured my diabetes and some other problems. And whenever something is happening in front of me and there is some problem arise in front of me, what I do, I have always the solution of it earlier. Because my mind is calm now, focused now, I never go for the problem. I always find the solution. I never complain now.
Right.
In the beginning, I was complaining all the time. Why this is happening to me? Why this happened to me?
Right.
Why it is
Now you
coming
have
back
to
again
how
and again?
part of the
So
solution.
now I am finding the solutions easily, and I am always positive towards any problem. I'll figure it out. I'll do it. I'll get it.
Right.
There is nothing like that I'm complaining. And if somebody comes to me and they say, "Nahi, no, it cannot be possible," I said, no, there is no is not in my dictionary. So we have to be positive about it. And most of the time what I felt that I have been surrounded by those people due to this meditation, those are positive. Those are adding value to my life.
You think the law of attraction applied to you?
You can say
Murphy's
law of
laws,
attraction, but at that time the complaining people, you just repel them. It happened that if somebody is talking to you and if I am unable to cure them, I am convincing them, please do not complain, please do not say negative or anything else. And if they are continuously saying, automatically I'll repel them. Automatically they will get you can say a distance to me. They will create a distance to me. But what I felt that I am surrounded by positive people, those who are adding value to my life.
And it happened automatically because you improved your overall focus.
Focus and
you
positivity.
Positivity, and you
Yeah.
started working towards solutions rather than focusing on the problems themselves.
Yeah.
And what do you think is the best time to actually meditate and focus on your own self?
Okay, but the best time is 3:30 to 4 o'clock, but I know most of the people it is very difficult for them. But wherever you are, if you have 5 minutes, even in the car, you just stop the car somewhere and you just spend 5 minutes with you calmly.
Despite all the noise of the traffic.
Yeah, because now I am doing 45 minutes. My young children, they were just coming to me, pinching me, hugging me, loving me, but it doesn't, you know, affect on me because I'm so much into it that I think so. It doesn't matter when you are even in the noise area, and if you're focused to your own self, and if you're focused to your own inner self and the higher self, I think so. There won't be anything effect on you.
Right. For him, we've seen, especially in the recent years and the recent times, that there are lots of discussion, there are lots of discourses on anxiety and depression, and lots of celebrities are coming and they're talking about it. I mean, people, doctors, psychologists on the media. But I generally feel, especially when it comes to the celebrities, because there are lots of celebrity endorsements about the mental awareness. And but I do feel that they're living in a very competitive environment, especially the showbiz sectors or the films and the movies, that it's very difficult when you say that do not compare yourself with others, or I'm no competition for them, etc., etc. That I do feel that there is certain hollowness into their words, and that does not help out the cause of the anxiety and depression, because I mean, saying something and not practicing out there in your personal life is something that does not help the cause, Nausheen, right? So how do you suggest, how can we strengthen the cause of anxiety and I mean the awareness regarding anxiety and depression more?
The thing is that which you said, that comparison, and they are in a competitive environment. I think through meditation you will just focus on yourself. You will not see anywhere else that what is happening in our surroundings or whatever. There are many competitors in the market regarding my business, related to my field even. There are, you know, multiple, there are your competitor. But the thing is that meditation focus you to your own self, that you have to just think about your own self, how to long your line, how to draw your line rather than removing others.
So Nausheen, it's like basically only the first step is the most difficult step to take, and you follow on the course as you take the first step, because that's usually the most difficult one, which you did, which you have taken, and now you're reaping the benefits of it, and you're talking about it so openly with us, with the viewers. So definitely I think we all should give it a try and do something about it. And obviously, if it has made Nausheen's life better, I think it would make our lives better as well.
And when you do so, please get back to us and give us your feedback, because we're constantly waiting for your feedback and we want to hear what you think about it. Thank you so much, Nausheen, for coming on our show.
Absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
And viewers, we have to take a short break here before we move on to our second segment. We have someone really interesting in the studios waiting for the second segment. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
And we are going to have a very interesting conversation, because during the break I am very strictly warned by my peers here that I have to ask some very good questions to our little young guest who has graced our studio, because he's someone who is studying in the class 6th, but his intellectual capacity impresses us a lot, because when I was in the 6th grade, I don't think so I would come anywhere near him. But we're very glad that we have been joined by someone who happens to be a language instructor, and he's a very impressive personality and lots
and
of feathers
Hajra,
to
also
that.
to add, he is the youngest language instructor, and he's the youngest reporter to have worked for television. So I might take this opportunity to introduce our guest, Mohammad Hasnain, here in the studios. Hasnain, welcome to PTV World.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Okay, so I've been, because I got a very strict warning and I was asking him that what sort of a question he wants me to ask, and he said that he reads, right? So I'm also an avid reader and I'm solely and wholly invested into the book reading. So Hasnain, what sort of books do you read?
Well, I read many different type of books. I would necessarily not say that they are specific, because I am a person that likes every type of genre until they are interesting. But in novels, I would say I really like Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
I've read the books and I've listened and watched a lot of series and movies of Sherlock Holmes, as it piques my interest.
Right.
And other than that, I would say I've read some general books like Think and Grow Rich, Poor Dad, Rich Dad,
Right.
40 Rules of Love, 48 Rules of Power, and Mindbreaker, etc. Some other books too.
Oh my God, mashallah. Now, you know, Hasnain, you and I have something in common, and we share that, and I'm really interested in talking to you about that. You are a language instructor,
Yes, I
right?
am.
And how did you develop that interest in English language, and when did you develop that interest in English language, and when did you think that you could start perhaps teaching it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to add something. I'm not only an English language instructor, I am a journalist. And by journalist, I mean I've also worked as a reporter, as a co-host, and as an anchor on TV. I've written columns. I work as a YouTuber and as a vlogger too. So I've done a lot of other things, and I've done
My
computer
bad to
sciences
have missed all that. I'm really
and
sorry.
computer sciences. I've done that.
Lovely.
So basically, English language was necessarily for me. As a child, I used to thrive for knowledge. My greatest wish was to become knowledgeable, and I have this innate sense. I change my personality and I change myself accordingly to different things. So for example, if you saw me 1 week ago, I would have had a different thing, but sometimes I have a cold demeanor and a calm demeanor. Sometimes I'm a bit more energetic. So through all this, I've learned it because of my understanding of all the things that I'm reading. Because the
Alright.
first step to answering a question is to understand the question. If you do not understand the question, you do not answer the question.
True that.
So when I was learning in that time, when I used to search for anything, mostly I used to come up with things that are in English. And I used to have this big problem that I didn't understand English language myself. So I thought towards my inability to understand English, and I used to be really sad for my own self, and I used to be pity that why am I not able to speak that. So I worked hard and I wanted to achieve it so that I can understand English. And I have always told people that a language is like a soul, like a treasure. Every language holds something valuable to it. Arabic holds Arabic literature, Quran. There is Persian, it has some great language, it has some great literature.
Yes,
you
it
can go
does.
towards
Yes.
English. English has great things too. There are so many different languages to choose from. Japanese and Chinese, they have some great things too written in their own culture. So I thought if I learn this language, it will be a betterment for me. I'll understand things more. And throughout this, I worked for years and understood that. And when I used to get international exposure as an English-speaking journalist, in that time I was an instructor. So people used to tell me that he is only there to speak his English and to show people that I'm a very good English speaker. He is there. So people used to say he's showing off.
So you
I
were
thought,
discouraged.
and they told me that you have spent this much dollars and this much money on this. So I told them that if, for example, I've spent millions of dollars, which I haven't, if I've spent it in their perspective, why not to teach them for free? I started teaching for free, not privately. I teach for payment in private because I worked for around about a lot of years for free. And I teach online, free of cost.
Alright.
I've worked online to students that are ranging from anywhere to childhood to class 1 to to all the way to FSC and matric, etc.
And I think you can collaborate with Fahim, because Fahim is a great language giant, I would say, in PTV, because he's a class apart, and his pronunciations and the way he unfolds his entire structure and the language that he uses is very good. It's amazing. But Hasnan, so let's talk about, because you're focusing on the language and you invested into the English, and whenever we talk about one particular language, or it has certain civilizational value to it, right? And there are some of people, the literary giants, that have contributed immensely in that language. And when we speak about English, the first person that comes to mind is the Shakespeare, right?
Yes.
And he's written lots of plays, Hamlet, King Lear. I've read Hamlet. I'm not a fan of classical fiction, honestly speaking, but when you're studying in the university, you don't have any option.
You don't have a choice, yes.
Exactly.
True.
So when we talk about Shakespeare, and I think I would also like to ask this question to Fahim. So how do you find his plays, and especially the Hamlet, because his soliloquies are so powerful that still their references are used differently in the pop culture, in a different...
If you do not understand one thing, which is that most people do not understand anything, to be honest.
Yes.
Shakespeare himself said that I know one thing for sure, that is that I do not know anything.
That was Aristotle.
Yeah, sorry, Aristotle said that.
Yes.
I'm not sure who said that, because there are a few great giants in philosophy and in other places. So the thing is that access of everything is like poison. So if you do not understand something in specific, so that is what is the problem. Nowadays people try to learn books and learn things, but they are not investing in it. They are not understanding, they are not trying. That is a problem. And I myself, for once, can say this, that I love writing of any kind of poet until it has some sort of poetic meaning behind everything. That I can say is a type of feeling. Let me explain to you something that I myself understood throughout time. There are moments in written things. I've read a lot of different things. I've read online things from the modern era towards the original times, and I've seen this in a lot of times in his writings, that is that while you are at calm, while you are at peace, there is that existential dread that is going throughout you. That is that existential nothingness that is going throughout you, which makes you question, who are you? What is it that makes you you?
Yes.
Is your knowledge and intellect? Is your strength and understanding what makes you, or are you what makes your knowledge and intellect? What is your importance? What is your contribution to anything that is in this world? And I can say, tried to understand these things by my own self, but through the small age that I have a very less concentration period, because I cannot concentrate on a lot of things, but until it piques my mind, as his wordings are curious, full of curiosity, I can not understand it, but I can understand it. There is this innate connection between me, my feelings, my understanding, my situation, and his words. There are such poets that have written things that are green, that are full of life, that are never going to stop making sense. There are things
and I think we need to highlight a very important thing for him. I think that was present in our childhood, because my mother was very strict when it comes to book reading. She used to encourage us to go to the libraries, and we used to cycle our way back to the library and get a book from there and read it. But nowadays I don't see that happening, because kids, students, people, they have this intuition, or they have this feeling that we can get the same knowledge from social media, and that in a very short form, in a very short sentences, or through the pictures,
or abridged form of a book perhaps, or a book summary, or anything like that.
Yes, and so many people have predicted that the book is going to die, there is going to book, and I do not agree with this assertion at all, because I do feel that hardcore people who are avid book readers, they're always going to stick to the book, and especially
some
to the
percentage of the world is always going to be there who love books.
Because the smell of the hard copies is just amazing, right? Nothing can replace it. But Hasnan, And when I see your generation, the young kids, the Generation Z as they would like to call them, I don't find this habit very pertinently ingrained into it, and that is what is very worrying to me. So how do you see this entire situation, and do you think that your schools or your teachers encourages you to go or indulge yourself into the book reading?
Well, they do that, but they tell us that do what you want to do, which is great in one sense. And I would for once say this, the world will never stop reading books. The knowledge I gained from books is never anything that I've learned from internet.
There's no alternative to it. That's
Yeah.
true.
What actually true scientifically proven or what true knowledgeable channels tell us is read books. They tell us this. I've read a lot of books about psychology, about understanding human beings, about many things. I've learned about manipulation. I've learned about changing your own self, how to be better, because time to time you need to have a change. You need to
Absolutely.
build curiosity. What I have in common here is that while I'm sharing everything, I'm being so clear with my words, I'm being vague at the same time. I'm not sharing all, which creates mystery, and mystery is what human intellect loves. I've learned that from books, and you can
Curiosity,
never,
yes.
you
And
can
also-
never learn that from social media.
Also,
you
has
can never do
there
that.
something that's quite a different question that I'm asking you right now. You know, every time, whenever a person comes up in the society who has a particular ability which is better than the rest, he or she is always bullied by the other people or made fun of, for that matter, right? So, did you have to ever face that sort of bullying from peers and friends, and did that ever affect your self-esteem?
Of course, I did have that. I used to get demotivated because I myself was a child. When I was younger, when I used to be in Peshawar basically, I'm from Peshawar.
All right.
And I'm a Pushtun from a typical family. And I remember that I used to be like, my relatives used to tell my parents that you're turning him mad because of what you're doing to him. And they used to tell him that he'll result in nothing and he'll get out of your hands, he'll get out of your reach, and he'll then leave you alone. He'll never come back towards you. And I used to come in these freezing mornings just for this same show, which is the PTV World Show, morning show. This wasn't here actually. It used to be in another place. I really remember it myself. I have came here for years with many different hosts from many different places, from many different shows, and it was always tough for me, and it will be tough for everybody. But as Elon Musk simply said it, I don't care.
Lovely,
So,
lovely.
I don't care.
That's something so lovely, because I am saying lovely again and again, because that is what everybody should think, that I don't care, because people are always going to talk about something or the other.
When they try to say that you're not worth it, I never let them be not astonished
under your
by
skin, yes.
True,
yeah, I
true.
never let them be not astonished by what I do, because each time they meet me, they are more astonished by my greater feats that I achieve time to time, that I become better time to time. As I have not spent these 7 years worth of experience in this field just for learning. I've spent it in refinement. I've spent it becoming better than what I was ever. And my wish is to become possible perfection, to become the best at what I am.
Right, right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, because I have to interject here because we're really short on time, but that was a very amazing conversation with you, Hasnain. And I'm really impressed by the way he articulates his thoughts and the way he expresses and the way his expression goes on. And I wish and I pray for you, Hasnain, to all of the success and best of luck for your future. And keep coming to our show. So until next time, it's a goodbye, Allah Hafiz, and good morning.
Good morning.